We are up to Siman Lam Gimel of the Orchos Chaim of the Rosh. Chaver Tov Yel Yirei Hashem. Be a good friend to those who are God-fearing. His Chaber Chevroson. Connect to their society. U'mechevras Pole Oven Archeik. And for those who work iniquity, distance yourself. Vehova Mochichim. Love those who rebuke you. That's a very important sif. Chaver Tov means on an individual basis. His Chaber B'Chevroson means on a as a society. In other words, it's not just enough to have an individual friend who's a Yirei Hashem, but you also have be part of the society of Yirei Hashem. Those are two complementary things, but they're separate things. Chaver is a good thing to have, and of course a Chaver is somebody who can have a direct influence on you. But a Chabura is also a good thing to have, and being part of Chabura is an indirect influence, but it's no less important because the Chevra, a person is a part of, defines who he is in ways which he usually does not realize. They're subtle and nuanced, but much more than the Chaver Tov, with which relationship is direct. Indirect relationship has an impact because you're not even consciously aware of it. And that, of course, is why the antithesis is so dangerous. Being part of a Chabura Pole Oven always leads a person downwards because, again, even on a one-on-one basis, one can actually do good things with a person who is a bad person at this point and bring him up to a higher level. As being part of a Chabura, it's much more dangerous because it's much more dangerous to have an impact upon you. Tzaddik speaks about this in a couple of places, about how somebody who is involved in Kiruv Rechokim has to be very careful that the impact upon him is not a negative one, which is the reverse. And then, of course, he says that one has to be one of the most important and most difficult aspects of a life of Avodas Hashem is be willing to listen to Musar and to be makabel it when appropriate. Sometimes it's not, but most of the time it is appropriate. One has to be able to understand what the other person is saying, even if they're not saying appropriately. The very fact that you're giving a Musar has to give you pause. I heard recently from a Rav who said that you know your wife is right when you are angry at what she's saying. Because when you're angry at what you're saying deep down what it means is, I know she's right, but I don't want to admit it. And this is certainly true about other people. And one has to be careful not to be put in that situation, but rather, not to put oneself in that situation, but rather to seek and pursue and love people who are willing to give a person constructive criticism, who more than a wife or a parent. It is good and it is appropriate, literally straight. In other words, tov is something which is good, but might be lifnim mishra sadin. Yasher means something which is straight, and is actually the way a person who's tov should conduct themselves. Whereas there's yashrus, which is before tov, and there's yosher, which is after tov. Yashrus before tov could be shura sadin, the letter of the law. But yashrus after tov is a different form of yashrus altogether. And that form of yashrus requires humility. To diminish in your eyes your good deeds, good activities. And enlarge your negative deeds. And to amplify on the kindness of Kodesh Baruch Hu, to create you for its chami beten and formed you in the womb for no sin and gives you your food your proper time. Do not serve him in order to receive your reward in doing his mitzvah. So a person obviously has to be an of, which means in this case to downplay his good and his good deeds and upplay his chesroinus, and to understand that Kodesh Baruch Hu is meitiv to us, is far more than we deserve, and that a person should not seek to serve Hashem for the reward, obviously, but rather for the avodas Hashem itself, and avas Hashem and yiras Hashem. Lamre, Yomam v'layla zichro mipicha yamush. Should never, day and night, allow Kodesh Baruch Hu's the memory of Kodesh Baruch Hu to desist. You should not desist from remembering Kodesh Baruch Hu, and not just remembering, but mipicha yamush, from your mouth. When you lie down, you should but fully immersed in his love. And when you rise and when you go about, you should find him. It's interesting. You should find him means that it's not necessarily apparent that he's there. But like we said, bring him into all your ways and all your pathways in order that you should be able to perceive him there and connect him no matter in what situation you find yourself. When you wake up, you should find your entertainment, so to speak, your things which are give you which you feel playful, things which you feel that you are enjoying, is to be a Kodesh Baruch Hu, and then he will straighten your pathways. That's interesting language. I like it. That's language vakitzosa. We say in the Siyam vakitzosa hi tisichecha. When you wake up, it should be your talk should be talking. Your discourse should be doing discourse about Kodesh Baruch Hu, which is true. But this is more than that. Vakitzosa bo tishasheya. When you look for your entertainment, when you look for that which gives you a geschmack, you look for that which is going to cause you to feel, so to speak, happy, though it's not the same thing as simcha. Shashua is more of a playfulness than a happiness, but this is, as we say, lulesa rascha shashuai azavadati bani. So a person's shashuim should be in the relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Each person should always remember and find their exuberance in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Lamevav, kavein b'tfilosecha. Have to have kavanah during davening. Ki atfila hi avodas halei, because davening is the service of the heart. V'binchlei daber lach. If your child would speak to you, v'lo milibo, and wouldn't come from his heart, halo yichar lecha, you'd be upset. U'ma ta'aseh tipos v'chol lifnei makol she'olam. And what will you do? You, disgusting drop, in front of Kodesh Baruch Hu. Do not be like a slave who's been given an honored task for his goodness and ruined it. How can you then stand before HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Look at that. You have to ask slicha and saying slach lonu without kavanah. Because it's a chutzpah, which unfortunately we indulge in very often, to ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu for slicha mechila without kavanah. That's like hypocrisy, right? Like the Eved who's coming after having disregarded his master's instructions and asked for forgiveness, and then he is not really asking forgiveness sincerely. He's asking without even thinking deeply into what he's asking. Of course, it's not possible for many people they were having so much. At least the bracha rishon shel Shmoneh Esrei pasuk shel Kriya Shema Yachzar. The very minimum is the first bracha Shmoneh Esrei and the first pasuk of Shema. Ki lo yatzai decha bas tefillah. You don't fulfill obligation of davening. Mi shelo kivein b'hem. Somebody does not have kavanah in them. Lamed Zayin. L'man pirish yosechli matzi b'shnayim mikra b'echot targum u'pirish Rashi zal. Interesting, that's in the Orchos Chaim of the Rosh, just a few generations after Rashi. And he says that it's not just Shnai Mikra Bechol Targum, Unklus, but also Rashi. Tedadek bo kasher tuchal. Of course, the Rosh has his own commentary on the Torah, which I think, like the Baalei Tosfos, in the same era, Allah has, probably is built on Rashi. I have not looked enough the Rosh to know. But Tedadek bo kasher tuchal. Rashi is full of diktukim. You have to infer from it, extrapolate from it as much as you can. And so too, in Gemara, you should be the medaktik bo as much as possible. Perhaps he also means, although I don't think so, but perhaps he also means that you should make sure to learn Gemara with Rashi. But it sounds like it's in terms of the inference and deduction. Yes, osek b'du Gemara midah tova. Learning Gemara is a good midah. Nosa schar, for which you receive reward, not the reward of to be a copper price that we said before is not the purpose. But nosa schar means that it's rewarded with greater understanding. There's no greater measure than it because it teaches a person how to think, and it's fascinating that the Rosh brings us down the same sif, the same siman, as learning Perush Rashi and being medactic in it, because, as we know, Rashi and Chumash, even Rashi and Shas as well, Rashi and Chumash especially, so is a midah toiva in that it teaches a person profound understanding and gives a person a profound perspective. And that's the schar of learning from it, and there's no greater midah than that power of understanding, profound understanding, deep appreciation, and the capacity to extrapolate and infer based on the language both of the Gemara and of Rashi. Utnan, as it says, the Talmud Torah K'neged Kulam. I think the idea here is Talmud Torah, not just Torah itself, but Talmud Torah. What does Talmud Torah means? It means not just Limud Torah. And Limud Torah means to learn. Talmud Torah means something else, and Talmud Torah means, evidently according to the Rosh, to extrapolate and infer from the Torah. In other words, it's like being marbe Torah, right? Talmud means to evidently to enhance one's learning in dikduk and in oimek and in inferences and in depth of learning, and that is the greatest midah tova, evidently that which makes you a much more profound profound in a sacred way, because it's not just thinking, it's Torah thinking, and gives you that high level which makes it K'neged Kulam. Lamed Ches. Mikol machal asher yochel u'mikol mashke asher yishteh. Anything you eat or drink, al tiyeh below bracha atchila v'sof. Of course, do not do eat with that bracha beginning and end. That's halacha. But kavein ba kasher tuchal. You have to have kavanah as much as possible. Kasei rosh koras Hashem titzgorei necha. Wow. When you mention Rosh Baruch in a bracha, you should close your eyes, cover your head, and close your eyes. Cover head, I could mean with a second cover, because there are some people holding the second cover. In other words, the hat when you make brachas. But the pashtus, he means that so back then when they didn't have a minhag to wear yarmulke all the day, he's making a bracha. You have to have your head covered for your shemaim and close your eyes for focus. With any bracha, close your eyes. Chemi de daber chabo. And so too, when you're involved, say the bracha, you should be not just when you mention the Shem Hashem, but you finish the bracha as well. And don't say it like somebody just saying it with his mouth. Uvsvasav kibduni, quote from Pasuk, and with their lips they praised and gave me prayer, honor. V'libo rochak me many, but the heart was distant from me. Lamates, tefillah achila. Achila, of course, is din. Tefillah is more of a midas chasidus, but the tzikon, the kras elokecha Yisrael, to prepare oneself for a good davening properly. When you go out to attend your needs, barech asher yotzar, this is obviously everybody understands that that's halacha, but what he says next is a little bit more of a chiddush, which we don't pass and like. Being kinachta, if you wipe yourself, oshif shafta, you rub yourself. Betirta lispalel miyad, when immediately oz tabarach asher yotzar b'halatil sunayim. It's interesting the order he has here. We always made halatil sunayim before asher yotzar, but the point is that according to the Rosh, it's a din to wash before davening if you did actually go to the bathroom and wipe yourself or rub yourself. So here we see that the Rosh has this chumrah which we don't paskin like, which is the Zega Bracha Tzion at that time. So sometimes, according to the Rosh, it's not just chumrah, it's ikra halacha. Again, we don't hold that we make a bracha on that. Mem, gedilim taselecha. Make for yourself tzitzis. Arbak and fos on the four corners of the garment. Man tizcha kadosh etzbecha b'chol bracha. In order to remember to make yourself holy in all your matters. Of course, if this is talking about the strict letter of the law, it would not be so appropriate here, but obviously it's saying that you should wear tzitzis as much as possible. Like our minhag is today. I'm not sure how much good it does us, but it's supposed to help us to sanctify ourselves everywhere. Everything. And be modest in the bathroom and with members of your household. specifically usually if it refers to a wife. Even a frivolous conversation between a man and woman, ultimately you're going to be judged upon that. So a person, no matter what situation, a person is supposed to measure their words and measure their conduct, and applies across the board from top to bottom and from right to left. Everywhere a person is, a person has to be in a state of tznius. And obviously, the idea is that this is part and parcel of being Mekadesh oneself. Tznius is a tool to Mekadesh oneself. Tznius is being Mekadesh oneself. It's not just being Mekadesh oneself, making oneself more refined, which is the purpose of mitzvos. And you should have the fear of heaven upon you. And be careful not to look at a woman, to gaze at a woman in a way which would lead to lust, even if she's not married. And the fascinating way to finish. Do not have too few mezuzahs on the opening of your door. Of course, that's the halacha. That's the mezuzahs. But obviously, the point here is that this is all part of the theme of Kaddish Atzmo B'chol Dvarecha. And that means that wherever a person goes, one has to be Kaddish himself. The mezuzah is a reminder of that. It's also a reminder of Hatznei Alechas Im Elokecha. Remember everything, everywhere you are, Kodesh Baruch Hu accompanies you, so to speak, and therefore you have to maintain your tznius, Hatznei Alechas, no matter where you find yourself, no matter what the situation.